All right, guys, it's time for my July wrap up. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name's Theo. Thank you so much for hanging out. Please consider subscribing if you haven't already, and maybe go ahead and leave a like on the video because it does help quite a bit. Today, I just wanted to do a quick video to wrap up the month of July, let you guys know what I read and how it went for me. I had a very good reading month in July. I had a 4.5 star, I had a 4 star, I had 2 5-star books. I almost finished my first manga. And so, yeah, it was a great month. The first book that I read in the month of July was actually the last book of the Warlord Chronicle trilogy by Bernard Cornwell, and that is Excalibur. This was one of the easiest 5 stars I've given, and I enjoyed it. I think this is the first series that I gave all books. This is just a trilogy, so there's 3 books. And this is the first series that I've ever given each book 5 stars. I'm pretty sure that this is the only one where that's happened for me. It was an easy 5 stars across the board for me. And I would highly recommend this one. This last book really, ties everything together. It was a really, really nice conclusion to the journey. There was enough action. There was a few battles. There was a lot of conclusions to some character arcs. There was a lot of emotion and drama. And it was just excellent. If you've watched my channel before, you know that I could probably go on and on about this series. I've been kind of gushing about it for the last few months since I've started reading it. And yeah, I would highly recommend this one. Very easy 5 stars. Another take on the Arthurian legend, told in a very unique, satisfying way. Great characters, very familiar for a fantasy reader, even though it's historical fiction. Reads very much like fantasy. Excellent action. Bernard Cornwell is an inspiration for a lot of very popular fantasy authors. So please go ahead and give this a shot if you haven't. The next book that I read in the month of July, I actually read kind of concurrently to Excalibur, and that is because Excalibur I ended up reading a lot more on audio because they're so good. So I ended up doing more and more audio for Excalibur, and that freed up a little bit of eyeball reading time for Empire of Silence by Christopher Ruocchio. This one I'm not going to talk too much about it because I do have a pretty in-depth spoiler-free review on the channel. I just did that one, so I'll go ahead and link that one either in a card up here or in the description. So please go ahead and check that out. It would mean a lot if you went and gave that video a like, because it took a little bit of time, and with this older laptop that I've kind of been using as a backup, it took a lot of time. So go ahead and check that out. I'd be curious, more importantly, to know what you thought and to hear your thoughts if you've read this one. If you've joined us on the read along, thank you so much. The link to our Discord channel that is shared between myself, RJ, Baron, and Alex, I'll link their channels in the description below. We co-run that Discord, and we have a channel read along. My channel and Alex's channel are kind of hosting this read along, but for all intents and purposes, it's a Discord, Grimoire Discord channel, read along. And so we've been having a blast. The discussion in there has been really fun. Everyone now, including myself, is reading Howling Dark, book 2, and everything that people say is absolutely true. It cranks it up to 11. People are losing their minds in the Discord channel, in the thread, talking about this one, and it's incredible. So the first book, really, really good setup. As again, I have a spoiler-free review for that one, so I'm not really going to talk too much about it. This one I ended up giving 4.5 stars. I was pleasantly surprised. It was a book 1. It was a very good beginning to what I perceived to be, a very grand scale epic space saga, and I can't wait to continue with it. Howling Dark, I literally just started it. So, go ahead and try this one. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. It is, again, a sci-fantasy series, so it's very familiar for fantasy readers that have sort of a fantasy preference, but it is definitely sci-fi, but it's familiar enough, and I think a lot of people will enjoy this one, so please go ahead and give this one a shot. The next book that I read is by a favorite author of mine, and that is Blake Crouch. So I read Upgrade in the month of July. This one came out last month, July 12th, and I read it, within a few days of it coming out, maybe a week or so. I tried to jump on this one as quick as I could, and I loved it. I will say it wasn't my favorite. I think I liked Dark Matter and Recursion, kind of his 2 books that he's most known for. I like those a little bit better than this one. This one follows the story of a guy who, without giving anything away, works for an agency that works with the protection of genes and monitors like gene manipulation. Because in this not too distant future, technology has come quite a long way, and we have the ability, I guess, to manipulate genes and stuff, but it's a very policed and kind of monitored thing as you probably would expect. So this story follows a guy who has his genome and his DNA hacked. And actually the backstory, without giving anything away, is actually quite interesting. So it has to do with, let's just say, a family member, and his name carries a little bit of a legacy in the world of gene manipulation, and he works for this gene protection agency or agency or whatever. He wakes up one day and he has had his genome and his DNA hacked. Obviously there's an event that triggers that I won't spoil, and he goes on this kind of journey to uncover how it happened, why it happened, what the repercussions might be, and how to maybe alter the course of what is inevitable. So this one really dives into the science a little bit. It's a little bit science heavy with DNA and genome stuff. And honestly, it's not to any degree where it takes away from the story. There's a couple parts where it kind of just like lists DNA or genes, gene types or whatever. And you can kind of just skip that. You can kind of just skim and understand what's going on. So don't be scared with this one. It doesn't go into the science that much. Blake Crouch has an incredible way of fitting science into the story without making it dry or unnecessary. This is still a lightning fast, quick-paced book. It's a techno thriller, a sci-fi thriller. It's everything that Blake Crouch does well. It just happens to fall on the theme of, like I said, gene manipulation and how that might affect a population of people, and what happens if humans were upgraded and we became kind of better biological versions of ourselves. Like how would that look? And so, this one, it's either your cup of tea or it's not. I personally like Dark Matter and Recursion a little bit better because I like those storylines a little bit better and those ideas and themes. Another one that I also really like by Blake Crouch is a small novella called Summer Frost, and that has to do with AI. And that is another theme and a topic and an idea that I find very, very fascinating. So I like that one too. What I'm gonna do is do a video, as I've mentioned, about why you should read or where to start with Blake Crouch, because he has a lot of different entry points for a lot of different kinds of readers. He tackles different ideas, different themes, and he does have a bit of a back catalog to choose from. So I thought I'll do that video at some point. Pretty soon I'll do a ranking video, ranking all the books I've read in 2022, because I've been super delayed in doing that. But I still want to do it and kind of, just go back and review all the books I've read and see what I think now, and maybe some ratings have changed. This one I ended up giving it 4 star. I thought it was a very solid 4-star book, and I'll end up doing that Blake Crouch video probably after I do my ranking. The last book that I read in the month of July was such a pleasant surprise. This was the other 5-star read, and that was Swan Song by Robert McCammon. This book is pretty long. I think it's in the neighborhood of 850, 900 pages or something like that. I read this one on ebook, and this one was a ride. Robert McCammon is an excellent author. I really enjoyed the writing. It's very reminiscent in all the good ways of Stephen King. The writing feels familiar, but his descriptions, it's such a visceral experience. His descriptions and his imagery are, I would say, some of the best I've ever read. I've highlighted some passages and stuff. I probably should have had some handy so I could read them to you because they're just incredible. But I have Boy's Life that's on the docket to read at some point soon. And having read Swan Song, I can't wait. I think Robert McCammon is going to become a favorite of mine. And I can't wait to try more books from this guy because, I had a really good experience with Swan Song. It was a crazy story. This is a post-apocalyptic, what happens after a nuclear holocaust type story. It follows a group of people separately, and then their stories kind of intertwine, and it was done just very expertly. Again, the imagery, the emotion. There were some moments that were absolutely gut-wrenching and insane, and some scenes that I think are going to stick with me in my head forever, probably. And every now and then you read something where you're just like, I cannot believe I just read that. Like, that was shocking. There are a few moments where it's simply just, shock factor, right? And it'll sort of depend on what type of reader you are. I kind of like that. Every now and then I do like a well done, shocking kind of moment. And this one delivered in a lot of ways. I would say if you're looking for something, a standalone, dark, gritty, post-apocalyptic, great characterizations, great descriptions, good writing, kind of a fast-paced, longer, contained, standalone, almost grimdark kind of story, I would pick this up. I don't want to spoil it, but he had a very good way of making you feel one way about a few characters, and then near the end, your opinion completely changes, and the arcs that some of these characters go on is actually very impressive. So I would say if you like fantasy and you like Stephen King, you're going to get a lot out of Robert McCammon's writing. I also ended up reading almost an entire I always do that with manga. I ended up reading almost an entire volume of Vinland Saga. This is I guess it's a deluxe kind of omnibus. I don't really understand how it works, but there's a bunch of like chapters in here, and I guess it's split up into several different volumes. But for all intents and purposes, this is the first Vinland Saga kind of bind up that I have, and I'm almost done it. I actually, I'm about, I would say 3/4 of the way through, and I read the bulk of this in July as well. I have really enjoyed this one when I'm tired at night, and you know, I don't necessarily want to throw on an audiobook yet, but I still want to kind of read and sit up and, you know, stay awake and kind of read something. This is what I pick up because it's visual. I can flip through it really fast. The art is actually very well done. I hear that some people think it's not as good as maybe Berserk or some other ones, and maybe the illustrations in this one get better as the books go along, but I actually really like it. This is my first manga. I have nothing to compare it to. I'm pleasantly surprised. It's all about like Vikings and war and revenge, and there's this story about this kid so far who is trying to avenge his father. It sounds like it, at the beginning it kind of starts that way, and then we get a flashback and we kind of see the story progress and how he got to the situation that we find him in when we start this one. So I've really enjoyed it. I'm going to read more manga. To be honest, I'm kind of surprised that I liked this as much as I did. I thought that maybe this wouldn't really land for me. I was never a huge comic book person. I never read any manga growing up, even though for a while it became popular with friends of mine. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. And to be able to fit this in between, you know, reading other stuff, heavier stuff, actual books, longer books, whatever, is kind of a nice change of pace and kind of refreshing. So that's it, guys. I didn't put a rating on this one. I haven't quite finished it yet, but I'm on it. So that's it for me. I had a very, you know, didn't read a whole lot, but the quality was incredible. I read some very, very good books, and some that I think will stick with me for quite some time. So that's it. I really appreciate you being here. More videos to come. Please consider subscribing if you haven't already. Again, go ahead and leave a like on the video. That'd be awesome. And I will catch you guys on the next one.